But first, now what we saw in Melbourne today is the rot that's now in Australia's second biggest city, the intellectual, cultural and moral decay of Melbourne, as protesters came out of their Fitzroy share houses, their Northcote cottages, to fight the police, to attack police horses, to throw manure at them, to block the cars and buses of people with real jobs and real work to get to heckle journalists and pose like so-called freedom fighters in their black masks and keffirs, and to abuse and assault people just trying to get to an exhibition of the latest military weapons. What a selfish, bullying, ignorant rabble. Tribalists, people angry that the world isn't paying them respect and big bucks for their BA in gender studies or colonialism. People angry at a society that rewards talents, but has worked out they don't have it. And what other city but Melbourne produces the kind of mob we saw today? It's Melbourne that has the most radical branch of the outlaw CFMEU union. It's Melbourne that has the ABC's most left-wing radio station. It's Melbourne that is home to the ACTU. It's Melbourne that has the most leftist artists. One right now is even holding an exhibition starring the red triangle that Hamas terrorists use to identify their death targets. It's Melbourne that has the biggest anti-Australia Day protests. It's Melbourne that has also the most politicised legal system, where Cardinal George Pell was jailed for a crime he could not possibly have committed. And it's Victoria that has lost the connection between cause and consequence. Banning gas, exploration on land, running out of it. Oh, who thought of it? And now has the biggest debt of any state. It is where woke rules, and brutally. Now, I warned last night today's protest would not be what you're told by reckless Greens leaders or by one of the protest organisers who identifies as Palestinian refugee, a Palestinian Syrian one, no less, and blamed the police for the violence.
People want peace, not war, and this is a demonstration for peace.
We are seeing the use of excessive force and weapons to control crowds, which have been very clear from the beginning that we are peaceful.
Peace? This protest was never meant to be peaceful.
We spoke to some of the organisers yesterday who said that we want to see this a peaceful protest. It's going to be a peaceful protest. But it was clear from the start that it was never going to be a peaceful protest. We saw from around 7 a.m. the protests had only been going since 6 a.m. and already people were throwing paint across the Novotel building, trying to get it across to the convention centre building. So that was the start of what was going to be an escalation.
The Victoria's police chief said the same.
They came with intent to provoke, to attack. What we saw today was not peaceful.
So no, this was not a protest against violence, and nor was it a protest against all weapons. I think it was just against weapons that democracies need to defend themselves against the tyrannies now on the march. Russia and China and the Iranian-backed terrorists of Gaza, the Houthi rebels. I mean, just look at the flags that were being flown today, the Palestinian ones, the red of the Marxists, even the flag of Russia, but not one flag of any democracy. There were no calls that I heard for Russia to be demilitarised, none for Hamas, none for China. And, you know, people who want peace, they wouldn't be violent themselves. And people against war wouldn't be on the side of the warmongers or silent about those warmongers who threaten us, and furious that we now dare to arm ourselves to defend our freedom.